Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Now in today's episode, we're going to be celebrating 30 years of Windows 3.1. And I figured what better way to do that than with unboxing a brand new factory sealed copy, and that's exactly what we've got right here. Now, this is something that we've done a couple times on this channel, both with Windows XP's 20th anniversary and Windows Vista's 15th anniversary. And although Windows 3.1 is not really a major release of Windows, certainly compared to 3.0, which completely overhauled the user interface by introducing the Program Manager, this was still a pretty significant release of Windows. It brought all sorts of under-the-hood improvements, including some updates to File Manager. It introduced TrueType fonts, which was a huge deal for the desktop publishing world and really made Windows more of a viable desktop publishing platform. It also introduced Minesweeper to the OS for the first time, though they took out Reversi. I'm sure Steve Ballmer was not happy. Not as significant, but still worth mentioning. And one of the biggest things it did is it introduced this Windows logo, the classic Windows flag as we refer to it today, which really gave Windows a sense of identity because this logo was far more successful and far more iconic than these two, which were the previous two Windows logos that you may not even know about. Also, I gotta give a huge thanks to today's sponsor, Linode, for helping me purchase this and for their continued support of the channel. I'll be talking more about them later on, but for now, let's dive into this particular copy of Windows 3.1 that we have here. Now, right off the bat, this probably looks different compared to the usual version of Windows 3.1 that you've seen before. And that's because this, as it says up here, is an upgrade edition that was made available to Windows 3.0 and Windows 2X users. This exact copy is actually a reseller copy. If we flip it over to the back here, you'll see there is this Attention Reseller page here that the reseller would have to fill out and actually take the customer's Windows 3.0 or 2X disk 1 of their install disks, or I believe, yeah, page 1 of the manual or the user's guide as it says, and actually mail that to Microsoft for proof of purchase so that the customer would actually be able to qualify for this upgrade pricing. Now, Windows 3.1 when it came out sold for $149, but this upgrade copy you could get for $79. And even better, if you bought this within the first 2 months of it being on the market, you only had to pay $49. Now, to say Windows 3.1 flew off the shelves would be an understatement. It's estimated that about 3 million copies were sold within the first 6 weeks of it being on the market, which is, you know, pretty insane. That's about 500,000 copies a week. So without any further ado, for the first time in over 30 years, we're going to open this copy of Windows 3.1 and see what it's all about. So we're just going to get our box cutter here and we're going to slightly just break the seal on the side and let's tear into this thing. Oh my gosh. I always get nervous when I'm doing this because it's like there's no turning back now. And you can see the box is a little bit damaged, unfortunately, but it's still intact, which is, you know, very important. Now, it already feels like this is made of a different material almost. Oh, maybe that's just the back piece of paper that I'm feeling here. So yeah, this is again that reseller. Let's go ahead and get this plastic wrap out of the way. So this is again that reseller, you know, note to the reseller here that I think... yeah, so this right here is what you'd have to mail back in. You have to fill out this form here. And then this right here is the envelope you would use to mail in, again, either disk 1 or page 1 from the customer's user's guide. So let's go ahead and actually dive into the box for the very first time since this was manufactured. I know I've already said that a couple times, but it's just always a cool feeling to open up new old stock software like this. So here we go. We'll open this up here. And oh my gosh, check this out. So here is disk 1 through 5. This is disk 6. I've seen unboxings of the retail copy of Windows 3.1 before, so I kind of know what's in here. This is your guide to service and support for users of Microsoft Windows. Pretty neat. Really love this artwork up here. Just look at that. Oh my gosh, doesn't that scream 90s? So talks about the Focus on Windows newsletter, which is apparently free. Ooh, a free 1-year subscription to Focus on Windows newsletter. You would complete and return the enclosed registration card, the Windows resource kit, a couple other things in here. Talks about Microsoft Pressbooks. I have seen some of those Windows before, we'll give you years of service and support for just a few minutes of your time. Take advantage of all of these support services and more as a registered user of Windows. These are your standard, manuals here. The user's guide, of course, very important. I'm going to leave this sealed. And yeah, here is your setup guide, your getting started guide, rather, which takes you through everything. Yeah, let's go ahead and open up the floppy diskettes, of course. The most important thing here. Now, it's got this nice thing here that we can just tear back, and there we go. So this is diskette 1 through 5 here, and we'll do the same on this one here. And there you go. Disk number 6. So we are all set. Now, the big question is, do these diskettes actually work? They've been sitting in this cardboard box for over 30 years. I have never had a problem. I have unboxed a handful of new old stock products from the 90s on this channel, and I've never had an issue with these diskettes not working, and that always seems to surprise people in the comment section. So, there's only one thing left to do. Let's get this installed, shall we? Alright, so our computer of choice for this video is of course going to be the $5 Windows 98 PC. Now, I know it's not period specific, but as I've mentioned, I'm in the process of moving, so a lot of my computers are packed up right now, and I don't have easy access to them. So this is right now the closest machine that I've got to the year 1992. So we're just going to roll with it. So we've got Windows 3.1 installed currently. If I go to About Program Manager here just to show you, Windows 3, did I say 3.1? 3.0A, that's what I meant. We've got Windows 3.0A installed, which we're going to be using to upgrade to Windows 3.1. So let's get our diskette number 1 here and pop it into the 98 PC's floppy disk drive here. We're going to exit out of here and go back. We're going to quit out of our Windows session, and we'll swap over to the A drive here, and we'll run setup. Now, I believe these diskettes are not anything special. This is just a standard copy of Windows 3.1, because I've done this before. I have a standard retail copy, just not in the original packaging, and I've gone through the setup process, and it will ask you at some point if you want to upgrade. I believe right here it'll say, yeah, you've got a previous version of Microsoft Windows, and I just told it to upgrade my previous version of Windows to 3.1. So we're going to say, yes, we want to set up to perform an upgrade. We'll hit enter. And that's all there is to it. So yeah, there's nothing special about these diskettes or anything. It's just the process to get the upgrade copy. You had to prove that you already had an existing copy of Windows 3.0 or whatever version of 2X that you might have had at the time. So this is just going to be a standard install, which we've done many times on this channel, so it's nothing super exciting, but hopefully you guys will enjoy it nonetheless. So we're going to go with our standard, the options it's picked for us here. But yeah, this here is what you would experience if you went out and bought Windows 3.1 in 1992. I mean, just not on any of this hardware. You certainly wouldn't have a flat screen display back in 1992. And here we go. It launches us into the graphical portion of the setup. So we're going to put in our name here and company. And we'll do Team MJD. Why not? I've not used that name in a while. So we'll hit continue. And we're going to set up applications already on the hard disk. Definitely want to do that. Yep, that all looks good. It's going to create a swap file. Okay, we'll let it do that. And now it continues, and it's going to ask for diskette number 3 here. So we'll pop that one in. And I just noticed something interesting about these diskettes, and that's that they alternate a little bit here. So let me show you here. Something I've actually never noticed this before, which is kind of surprising because I'm pretty attentive when it comes to details like this. But, so this is diskette number 1, and you see the high density label at the top is white. On diskette 2, it's black. So they alternate there. And that pattern just continues on. So yeah, this is just getting into these minor details that like nobody pays attention to, but I just noticed that as I was putting in diskette 3 there. And here comes disk number 4. It's just crazy to think that this is the first time these diskettes have ever been used. It's taken them 30 years. They've been sitting in that cardboard prison for so long. I always found it kind of odd how disk 6, if you saw when I was unboxing the thing, is like in its own package, because they could only fit 5 in the first cardboard, or not cardboard, the little plastic case that they were in. I don't know why they just didn't split it up evenly and do 3 in one and 3 in the other. And here comes diskette number 6. So far, we are on a really good streak. We've had no problems whatsoever. So let's see if that continues with the final diskette here. And there we go. Awesome. So we're going to have set it make the modifications to the config.sys file for us. All right, all good. And we definitely want to search for existing applications. It needs to know the application name for edit.com, that's MS-DOS editor. And so here's all of the applications. So we're just gonna add all of them. We'll just return to MS-DOS here, and we'll take out diskette number 6. And there you go, it took 30 years, but we finally installed Windows with these diskettes. So let's go ahead and talk a bit more about today's video sponsor, Linode, the awesome people who helped make this episode possible. If you've ever wanted to host a website, game server, or practically anything else, Linode has you covered with their affordable Linux virtual machines starting at just $5 per month. You could even use one to run Windows 3.1 in a virtual machine inside of a virtual machine, you know, if you have nothing else better to do. The great thing about Linode is how easy it is to get started. You don't have to be an expert thanks to the step-by-step setup process and app marketplace, which allows you to install a wide variety of applications on your server in no time. But if you ever get stumped, trust me, we all do at some point, you don't have to worry because Linode has 24/7 customer support available to answer all of your questions. Even better, they're offering everybody watching this video right now a free $100 credit that you can spend on any of their cloud computing services for 60 days. That'll get you 2 months worth of a quad-core Linode with 8 GB of RAM and 160 GB of SSD storage for completely free, and you'll be helping the channel along the way. So be sure to check them out, and huge thanks again to Linode for your continued support of the channel. Alright, so let's go to games here, and yep, we still got Reversi in there. You know, I don't know exactly why Reversi was cut from Windows 3.1. I always wondered that, because like, why not keep it in here? Like, you could just leave it in. You don't have to replace it with Minesweeper. You could have left it in. Because who doesn't love Reversi, man? I mean, come on, it's so good. It just gets you so excited. It makes you want to, you know, open up Control Panel and the Windows clock and buy something for $99. So yeah, we're gonna, oh, I did not mean to maximize that there. Reversi. Of course, we got Minesweeper here. I've never really, like, seriously played this game before. I just would usually open it up and just, like, kind of click around. I think I know pretty much how it works, like, what these numbers are indicating. But I've honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest, I have not seriously sat down and, like, learned how to play Minesweeper. I probably should at some point. But I think I'm doing pretty good here. I know I can mark, like, that's probably a mine there. So I'll mark that. And let's go, gosh, let's go, here. There we go. I'm thinking right here. All right. Oh, that was it. Okay. Wow, I had 2 left? Oh my gosh. Like I've said, I have not seriously sat down and played Minesweeper. Solitaire, though, I used to play all the time. I always loved messing around with Solitaire. And, well, I actually, not just messing around, actually playing Solitaire. It's been a while since I've done the 3.1 version here. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and play an entire game of Solitaire. You know what, let's just quit it now before I get into it, because I'm going to probably get into an entire game and then just waste so much time in this video that you guys probably don't care about. Let's go ahead and mess around with the theme. Of course, we always have to do that. That's pretty much a rule for these videos. So we can choose a default theme here, like Arizona, for instance, which was the theme in the demo version of Windows 3.1, that PC World demo that I talked about in this video up here, if you want to go check that out. It was a pretty neat situation going on there. But let's go ahead and let's just pick a random one in here. Let's go with the blues. And we're going to then modify that. So let's make this active title bar maybe a yellow. We'll make the text black. Application workspace, we'll make that go with a lighter blue here. Inactive, we'll make that, oh yeah, we'll leave that gray. Highlighted, we'll make that a nice green, and we'll apply that. Yeah, I think that looks pretty nice. So there you go. You can mess around with Control Panel in here. You know, one thing I've never done before? I've never gone through the Windows tutorial here. I've never done this, so let's explore this. Let's see, because this is going to really talk about the mouse. It says you could type M to begin the mouse lesson. If you're already a skilled mouse user, type W to begin the Windows basics lesson. So let's say that I have never used the mouse before, so let's hit M to learn how to use the mouse. So, okay. Lesson teaches you how to use a mouse with Windows. Press the Enter key to continue. You use a mouse, like a keyboard, to communicate with the computer. To use the mouse, you hold it in your hand and move it across a flat surface. If you're left-handed, it may be more comfortable to move the mouse with your left hand. Type R if you'll be holding it with the right. That's what we'll be doing, because I am right-handed. When you move the mouse across a surface, an arrow-shaped pointer moves across the computer screen. You control the pointer by moving the mouse. And it says try moving it now. It moves the pointer around. So yeah, it's gonna go, I mean, some of you might be watching going like, come on, they really had to tell people how to do this. But I mean, the mouse was a pretty new thing. I mean, not like hardware-wise, it had been around for years by that point, but in terms of like the general public getting their hands on it and learning how to use it, it was a new thing in that respect. And so having these really detailed guides on how to use the mouse in Windows here was very, very important for sure. So now it just asks us to move it around to each number. So we'll go to 2, we'll go to 3, we'll go to 4. I'm not clicking, it hasn't touched on clicking yet, so it's just literally moving it around. You can select an item on the screen by moving the mouse pointer to that item and then pressing and releasing the left mouse button. This is called clicking. So we'll click the button, and it tells us to click up here, the control menu, click the title bar. That's interesting. I did not know that was called the control menu, but that makes sense because this is the file menu here. Another way to select an item is rapidly click twice. This is called double clicking. Okay. Double click the control menu, double click the title bar, and drag each item on your screen to its correct location. Okay. So we'll drag that down here. We'll drag this here. Let's see what happens when you do it incorrectly. So let's drag this one here. Oh, it just doesn't move it. Oh, well, that was a little bit off. I guess that trigger is kind of larger than it has to be. So let's drag this here maybe. Yeah, it just moves it back into place. Okay. So we'll move that here. Move the main folder. Let's do it like here. Yeah, and that still counts. So it's definitely giving you some leeway there. You have learned basic mouse skills. You need to use Microsoft Windows. Click on one of the following buttons. Let's go to the Windows Basics lesson. Program Manager starts every time you start Windows. Use Program Manager to organize your programs or applications into groups. Each icon in the Program Manager window represents a group. When you open a group, the applications contained in that group are displayed in a window. So again, really, really basic concepts here, but it's just explaining them in a lot of detail so that if you had no idea how to use the Program Manager, you could get a pretty decent idea at, you know, what it does here. You can start an application in the same way you open a group by double clicking its icon. Start the write word processor. Okay, so we'll open that up. Write is now in its own window. Now it's maximize the window. Okay, we'll click on continue. Now you tried maximize the right window now by clicking the maximize button. Okay, you can change the size of a window. You can size a window by moving the pointer slowly over the border until it changes to the double arrow. And yeah, it wants you to change the size of that, so we'll do that here. I believe this demo button, if we go to the next one here, so it has a menu bar. Like if you didn't know how to do what it was asking you to do, you could click on demo and it will do it for you. So this is not me controlling it right now. So now we're on the open dialog, so we'll click on continue, and now it has me try it. So now that demo option is not there. So go to open, and there we go. I was kind of hoping it was going to talk about like some of the new features in Windows 3.1, but to be honest, that's probably not going to happen because of just how basic that a lot of this stuff is. Use the sample dialog box to build an ice cream sundae. What? Experiment with the different sundae selections. As you make selections, the calorie count for the sundae increases. You can learn how to use each part of the dialog box. Okay. This is a pretty clever way to teach people how to use dialog boxes and all that. That's pretty cool. So it wants us to restore Program Manager, so we'll do that. Talks about active and inactive windows. If you want to work with write, you must first make write the active window. You can double click the control menu to close out of it, so we'll close out of write. Write window is now closed. Congratulations, you have finished the Windows Basics lesson and are ready to begin working with Windows. Next time you have a question or need help, you can repeat this tutorial, find the answer in the Getting Started guide, or user's guide, or use online help. Every Windows application has a help file. It is the last item on the menu bar. So yeah, we'll exit out of that. And that is my very first time going through the Windows 3.1 tutorial, and maybe your first time as well. And I think that's a pretty good stopping point, guys. That is installing Windows 3.1 from a brand new, never opened copy. Well, it's opened now, set of installation diskettes. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed down below, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.